Hi, welcome to Community Focus here on Channel 6 TV. I'm Kenny Fogle. Glad you could join us. This is Community Focus for Nelson County, and what we got coming on in Nelson County next week is the Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And obviously we can do that once a year. And to tell us a little bit about what we do here in Nelson County, we got the former mayor of Bardstown here with us today, Mr. Bill Shekels. First of all, Bill, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me, Kenny. Appreciate you giving us a little spot to tell a bit about our program this year.
Well, the program is very important because I mean it's something that if anybody has never been to one of your programs, they're in for it's interesting. I just one of the most educational and entertaining in a way programs that I've been to.
Well, we do have a mass community choir that always puts on a good show. Mm-hmm. We're fortunate enough to have. We try to incorporate a lot of younger people, since they do have the day off from school, to participate and let them know that this is just not another day you can get out of school, and kind of enlighten them about what Dr. Martin Luther King stood for and the things that he went about and try to promote when he was here on this earth. So we get them involved in them as much as we can. So and along with we usually have a pretty good speaker too that comes out and delivers the message of the day. So I think this year's national theme is "It Takes a Village," and we're fortunate enough to have Reverend Edward Palmer for the Sign of the Dutch Church in Radcliffe to be our keynote speaker this Monday. So he's a very good speaker.
Well, we'll talk about the event in a few minutes, but I want to talk a little bit before we get into it, a little bit of younger people and, well, some even people a little younger than us. I mean, everybody has short memories. Tell us a little bit about Martin Luther King, if people don't, maybe forgotten, don't know about, or why we honor Martin Luther King like we do.
Well, probably most people that are 40 years or younger, they think he's just another guy in the history
Take
books.
it for granted.
Yeah, but people like me and you that've been around a couple of days, we can remember when he was a champion for social justice, not just for black people, but for all people. And he was a nonviolent man that went about in a peaceful way to try to promote economic and racial justice in this country. And he was a dynamite speaker too, and he was the type of people that people would follow. And he was a well-educated man and very truthful, and it was a good. Everyone comes along at certain times in history to make their mark, and he was the keynote feature in the civil rights movement. And that's why his legacy stands so much today.
Like you said, we do remember the 60s, and a lot of people may have been born after the 60s or don't remember much about it, but the 60s were a very turbulent time, and that was a time that it wasn't as easy as like now. You can stand up now and say pretty much what you want to say and get away with it, but back then it took a lot of courage to do some of the things he did and to stand up to the establishment in many ways.
Well, that's true. He was, like I say, there's a point in time or in history when certain people come along that fit that mold, when there's a time to make a change in the social climate of the country or of the world for that matter, and he was just that person, like Gandhi was in India, or Roosevelt was during World War II, or Churchill or someone of that nature. Then he was that here to create social justice in America.
Well, we've come a long ways. I think we have anyway. And that's why I guess my question is I was listening to Tavis Smiley this morning on NPR for a little bit, and he was trying to equate the 60s to today, and he says some things have really changed and some things maybe just have accentuated a little bit more. He said even with President Obama being president, there's still a lot of racial tension, a lot of things going on out there, and he's trying to figure out why it is that way.
There's still a lot of racism and sexism that perpetrates in this country today. You don't see too many people wearing the white robes of the Ku Klux Klan anymore, but there's other ways that those racism stuff still exists. Economically more so than socially.
Right.
So, and that's the things that you have to try to bridge the gap to. Anytime that you're first in doing something, then you get a lot of backlash for that, just for the nature of the beast. And I've been first in a few things, so I can kind of relate to where he's coming from. But this is why we have to constantly keep the remembrance of Dr. Martin Luther King and what he stood for, and that's why we celebrate this day every year. The Concerned Parents of Nelson County, a group that's been putting this program on since around 1990, so however many years that is. So, and we continue to try to keep that going and make it lively and entertaining, and as well as get a message across to the people also, especially our young people.
Absolutely. Again, that's part of, I think a big part of the program is reaching people that probably just didn't, they're saying to themselves, well, what's the big deal? It's always been it's always been like this, but I don't think they remember even just locally. I mean, we've been through a lot of changes in the last 40 years.
Well, that too, and like I say, young people, like I say, if you're 30 years or younger, then you don't really can not necessarily relate to what Dr. Martin Luther King stood for, and the trials and tribulations he went through, along with the other people that went through in the civil rights era. So it's something that you just have to keep it alive and keep the momentum going, and understand that that we have come a long way, but there's still a long way to go also.
Absolutely. Now next Monday, now we're going to be celebrating, and what's going on that day? I mean, I know we usually have a little parade.
Well, yeah, we'll have a little motorcade that'll start around 11 and come down, and the event will take place at St. Monica's Church on South 3rd Street, and we'll have the Bardstown High School Mass Choir that'll be bringing the national anthem, and the community choir made up of members from several different churches around here. And we have a couple special presentations that we do. Last year, our Concerned Parents group, we decided that we would institute a community service award to maybe a younger person and maybe older person that has made strides in trying to promote the youth of the community and do things that are stepping out of their comfort zones and going above and beyond and trying to help make things better for some of our younger people.
Well, you had a great crowd every year. I've been there for the last, I can't remember how many years, probably the last 7, 8, 9 years. And every year it's a good crowd, enthusiastic crowd. And as you mentioned earlier, you usually get a really good speaker that makes is really good at explaining what the message of the day is.
Yeah, and we have a lot of community support here in Bardstown also with our local school systems. Even though it's a day out of school, the school, Nelson County administration, Bardstown's administration, our local politicians, they all make it a point to be there and show and be represented. And so it's a community effort that we put together this program, and it's been great for the last 20, 25 years, I guess we've been doing it.
That's great that you all put on this, and somebody takes the bull by the horns and makes sure we have something like this, because a lot of communities, I guess, like I said, things slide away. And I make this argument all the time, not only just for Martin Luther King Jr. Day and also for Veterans Day and Memorial Day. It's not just a holiday you take off from work. It's a day that you're remembering something, and this is something very important.
Well, I can remember when we first started this program, the schools didn't all get out. They weren't out. Even though it was a national holiday, but here in I guess probably the last 10 years, the school systems take that as one of their days off, and that's why it's important that we try to incorporate the youth into this program, because like I say, it's just not another day off. It's because we always try to make it a day of service and let them understand that if you're going to grow and progress and make your community better, then you have to give service back to your community, and that's what's important.
Well, they always say if you don't remember history, you're doomed to repeat it. So
that's true, and you shouldn't. Before you can go forward, you need to know where you came from.
That's right.
So that's very important.
Well, history, and I'll be one of those first people to tell you, it was not something that I cared a lot about 15, 20 years ago. But as I get older, the more important it is to me is to find out, as you said, where we came from, and to find all kinds of history. History is not just written one way. There's a lot of different history out there that a lot of times we ignore. I mean, we just you read it the way it is in the textbooks, and it's not always exactly that way.
Well, if you live long enough, you become part of history. So, I watch many times. I watch the History Channel on TV, and I look back and they'll be bringing up something that happened 40 years ago, and I got to thinking. I said, well, I remember that very well. It wasn't history then.
No,
it was a
that's what my
event.
son told me one time. That's why history was so easy for me, because there wasn't as much of it back when I was a kid.
So that's why it's important, and our Concerned Parents organization that puts this on every year. We need to have more concerned parents involved in this organization also, too, because we, as the founders of this organization back in '89, we're not so much concerned parents now. We're concerned grandparents and great grandparents. So it's
old codgers.
That too. So, but anyway, it's a good organization, and we still try, and we constantly try to stress the importance of education. Because education doesn't cure all of society's ills, but it sure helps. It can sure help keep our young people on track.
Exactly. Well, like you said, the message of Martin Luther King and the message of today. I mean, it does progress in baby steps, but it does progress, and that's the main thing.
So that's why we're here, and that's why we want to promote it, and that's why we'll be here on Monday at noon at St. Monica's, and we look forward to having a good turnout and another good program.
Absolutely. Monday, it's January the 18th at noon at St. Monica's Church down on South 3rd Street in Bardstown. We invite you to come. And again, it's going to be a packed house, so you want to come early and get you a seat, because I know I've come a lot of times right at the last minute, and it's hard to find a seat because it is a pack. Might have started looking to a bigger venue at some point. It keeps getting bigger and bigger.
We'll fill downstairs in the balcony also, but it's good. People like to be there, and it's a great venue to have.
All right. Well, we invite you out and join us, and we'll plan to be in there Martin Luther King Day again, January 18th at noon, St. Monica's Church on South 3rd Street in Bardstown. Bill, first of all, we appreciate you being here. I know you've been involved in this, as well as many other projects over the years.
Well, I enjoy having us, and we like to get the word out, and we look forward to having a good crowd. So we'll see you there.
All right. We'll be back in just a few minutes here on Community Focus here on Channel 6 TV. We'll be right back.